Pokemon podcast, the literal only Pokemon podcast that has ever existed. My name is Matt. Today I am joined by Twitch, the creative director of Pokemon Uranium, and also the co-runner of the Fakemon blog with me on Tumblr. Hello.
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. I really wanted to get another episode out before the game actually came out so we can, fill it with random speculation that's absolutely going to be proven wrong, and we'll all be Boo-Boo the Fool.
I cannot wait until Pokemon snatches the rug out from underneath me and just completely blindsides us by some new feature that they didn't even mention during the promotional material, although that sounds like a missed opportunity for them to hype up the game some more. I think we've probably seen basically every single new feature that they're going to announce that'll be a big selling point, but there's probably a bunch of little details that'll stick out, especially to huge Pokemon nerds like us.
Of course. There's a lot of people, again, speculating that they're just going to throw Kalos in the whole game, and I feel like that's expecting a little much.
I don't think that's going to happen because making a region is extremely resource intensive, and I don't know why they would bother with, because that's a 3DS game, so they would have to not only port and update all the textures and all of the models, but also revamp all of the maps and also cram it onto a Switch cartridge, which is no small feat. I think a lot of people underestimate how much work goes into making any game, let alone a Pokemon game. Even if Game Freak is a AAA studio, they've still got limitations, and there's still limited space in a game. Honestly, I'd rather that they just make Galar a fun, large region to explore with a lot of details and have a bunch of new content rather than rehashing old content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the regions, they really don't have like a Pokemon like map legendarium that shows how everything is connected to each other. But I imagine that Galar and Kalos are supposed to be close.
That would make sense. I wonder if there's like a Galarian channel that separates them.
Yeah, and a cool train from that one train in Kalos that doesn't go anywhere.
That's true. There is that train station that was never used.
There's a lot of stuff in Kalos that was never particularly used. One of the reasons why the speculation came up, like, even if it doesn't turn out that they're next to each other, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a bunch of references to it. Someone was thinking like the... Actually, you know what? That's a leak discussion. You were avoiding leaks, correct?
Yes, I've been mostly tuning out leaks, unless they're 100% proven fake, just because I want to be surprised. for the same reason that I'm pretty excited that we don't have a whole lot of officially revealed Pokemon and content from the game. Like we hardly know any of the town names, for example,
Yeah.
which I'm grateful for, considering that in the lead up to Sun and Moon, they basically revealed 90% of the Alola decks and all of the Alola forms, except for like Alolan Geodude. So as a result, some of the mystery of discovering new Pokemon was sort of diminished, because it was just like, oh yeah, it's that guy. I saw him in a promotional ad.
Yeah.
So I really hope that going into this region mostly blind, it'll be able to recapture that childlike glee of discovery. Because as an adult who still plays Pokemon, some of the joyous the feeling of wonder is sort of lost to me, and I'm still
Yeah, of
constantly
course.
chasing that high.
One of the I just remember with the lead up to X and Y, when there was like almost every Pokemon was revealed except for like Barbaracle and the starter final evolutions, and but like nobody knew that was the case with the number of Pokemon, because like that Dex ended up having like the smallest number of new entries.
But
So that was like,
there were so many Pokemon in Kalos. I mean, they used there were 3 entire dexes of 150 Pokemon in
Yeah.
Kalos. It's just that only like 70 of them were new Pokemon that were added that generation.
yeah. And then like there was like something like 100 odd more that you could get through like the Friend Safaris.
Oh, true. Man, I completely forgot about the Friend Safaris. And I spent
The
a
only
lot of
reason I remember them at all is because that was my first time doing a living dex, was playing X and Y, just because of the sheer number that were available in that game alone.
Yeah, I have a confession to make, which now I probably shouldn't make on a Pokemon podcast that's presumably going to be listened to by other people, but I've never completed a national dex.
That's fine.
Not once.
It's the only reason I ever do it is when I'm like super depressed, because it's like, like a task to finish. It's a good way to occupy your brain for a long period of time.
It does slot right nicely into that, like the numbers going up makes the serotonin levels go up.
Exactly.
Experience.
It's a very numbers going up game.
Which is, I think, very integral to the whole Pokemon journey. So I could totally sympathize, but honestly, after a certain point, when you're, just grinding up levels to evolve a pseudo legendary like Hydreigon that evolves at what, level 68, that
Really high.
it's just like, I mean, I could understand it's mindless fun, but at that point fun seems like a bit of a generous term for it.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really good thing to do while you're also like listening to a podcast or watching TV or something, like something that like can take your like active attention while you just kind of like rotate the circle pad in your hand.
Yeah, or using the rubber band method, where you tape the circle pad over to one side.
Yeah.
You fly to Lumio City and go around the Eiffel Tower. And
The way I found that actually works even better than a rubber band for that is a dime. You can just slot a dime under the left side and it holds it right. And it just like goes around in circles.
And if it breaks your circle pad in the process, that's just sacrifices that you make along the journey to success.
I'm really amazed that I didn't. I almost broke my D-pad. The trick in Diamond and Pearl where you could like jerk your way out of the map and then like travel through darkness.
Yeah, tweak.
Yeah, exactly. Like holding the control stick right is a lot harder on a DS than it is with a circle pad. And I almost broke my my D-pad by like sticking it with gum.
I mean, you have to
actually
do like
gum. It was like a poster tack or something.
You have to do like 8 consecutive frame perfect inputs to make that work. So
that's just at the start. After that, it's fair game. You're just walking in a straight line for something like 65,000 steps.
Did you manage to catch Darkrai or Shaman?
I did catch Shaman, and then I could not transfer it forward because it was detected as illegitimate.
It was in the game. It's not like you use an external device. It's not their fault. The game has a bug in it. But I felt the same way about using the Mew glitch in the Virtual Console Red version to catch a Mew. Finally, for the first time in my life, I caught a Mew and I added it to my team. And I'm like, yes, I can get a Mew and complete the national dex. Not that that ever happened. But
yeah,
of course, if you use the Mew glitch, it's illegitimate. I don't know how they can detect that. I mean, I guess
it's basically like it's like the level it's caught at and the OT, because an official Mew in the in a Generation 1 game, like an officially released one, would have the OT of Nintendo. So actually, if you named your Virtual Console's player like Nintendo or whatever fits in 7 characters, it actually would work.
Wow.
There's ways around this. And so for Diamond and Pearl, the reason why the Shaman is detected as illegitimate is because they never actually released the event items for Shaman and Darkrai. And so
the Gracidia flower?
Yeah, no, not the flower, the Oak's letter, which is what lets you go to the route to get it. So like since those items were never released, a Shaman that originates from Pearl is considered illegitimate.
Wow, the disrespect.
I know. So what I did is I just went into my save editor, said it was from Platinum, and then sent it forward. I had this capability the whole time, but I wanted to do it anyway.
It's their own fault. I mean, they made the catchphrase of the series in the West, gotta catch them all. And then there are some Pokemon that are literally uncatchable. So they really dug their own grave here.
Yeah, well, I mean, that kind of dovetails neatly into the National Dex conversation. You have some thoughts on this, right?
I do. I mean, I can't not have thoughts because it seems to be the dominant discussion in virtually every Pokemon space on the internet still.
It was on the previous episode, but, I want to get more people's thoughts on it. What me and John, the guest on the last episode, basically came to is, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat here. I don't have a strong emotional attachment to every single one of the 800 plus Pokemon that have been revealed so far. And if they want to say leave out the Ultra Beasts from Sword and Shield because they're an Alola thing, actually they're not even an Alola thing, they're from another dimension.
They're from another dimension.
That's fine by me. I'm fine with not having tornadoes
I do love
and
the
thunderous.
Ultra Beast, but
I do like the Ultra Beast a lot, and I would love to see more Ultra Beasts, but I get that was kind of like their game's gimmick, and I'm content with leaving them there. I kind of think they were a little bit underexplored, to be honest, but
yes,
that's
true of anything.
But yeah, I mean, like, for one thing, I'm pretty sure that leaving some of the Pokemon out, it's not like they got Thanos snapped out of existence. I mean, they're still going to be in Pokemon Home, and they're going to be in future games. Maybe they'll have a future perfect Pokemon game that's like an MMORPG on the Switch where you can have all 1,000 or so Pokemon. And,
if they don't, like, one of the things that I was discussing with John was like, just put a battle sim on the Switch.
Yeah, please.
Just put a battle sim on the Switch.
Do Showdown, but better.
Yeah, exactly. Showdown, but official.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know that they haven't shut down Showdown because they know it's how most of their, like, esports community practices.
Yeah.
Like, they're never going to shut it down for that reason.
I mean, I wouldn't say never. They totally
I wouldn't
could.
say never. That's true.
They could totally shut down really any fan project or even fan website for any reason, but they choose not to because they don't see it as a threat to their brand. And in the case of Showdown, yeah, competitive players use Showdown extensively. It's where the sort of the competitive meta
develops.
Exactly. So they would basically be harming themselves directly.
Yeah, they'd be shooting themselves in the foot to do that.
Yeah. On the other hand, some fan projects do get shut down because they represent a threat to the brand, like my fan game, for instance.
Yeah, let's talk about Uranium.
I guess we might as well, since I'm here.
Since you're here, I'll be honest. I only played the like early demo of it that you had sent me. I think this was like way back.
Oh, like 3.0?
I think so. Like I think you'd sent it to the Fakemon blog because I'd been posting about like some of the Fakemon from it. This is like prior to you being part of the Fakemon blog. But
it's been around a long time. I mean, it took us 9 years to fully develop and release it, which, in and of itself is, I can't believe I stuck with one thing for 9 years that didn't make me any money at all. But I still like Pokemon. As we were talking before we started recording about how we've both been doing fan game stuff since we were in like middle school. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot since the version that I sent you. I mean, I overhauled basically the whole Pokedex and all the visuals. And basically, Matt, you owe it to yourself to play it. It's a full game. You can play it all the way from the beginning to the end of the game with the credits.
Which is very rare for a fan game. There are not that many finished ones.
Yeah, most fan projects end up left by the wayside, or they change hands over to a new development team and then are stuck in development hell for another, 3 years before finally throwing in the towel. Some fan games do have a playable beta version of the game. I think a really strong example of this is Pokemon Ethereal Gates, which released a nice, like, snack-sized complete game experience that goes up to 2 gyms, has totally custom graphics, a whole bunch of Fakemon to discover, and you kind of have your expectations set for you right off the bat that this is a
small
demo.
piece.
Yeah, and it does stand on its own. Even so, Pokemon Sage, the VP's fan game, is like that too. Goes
there
up to
3 or 4 gyms now.
I think 3 gyms, if I remember right. Yeah, tons of really cool Fakemon.
Oh man, yeah, I could talk about some of the mons from Sage forever. Like there is some really, really cool stuff in there.
Absolutely. I think that's the internet has kind of recognized that these are really high quality because I see them stolen all the time.
Oh yeah. I remember like way back the Fakemon project that I was a part of, which I haven't mentioned in a couple episodes probably, was called Pokemon Treasures. It spawned on the Cerebi.net forums because that is where fan games once upon a time would start. There was like a whole rush of them that all started at once, and almost all of them were gone before the year was out. And yeah, our Fakemon, we'd find them all over the place, and this was in like 2003 internet. Like it's so much worse now. Like I know in the Poke-Engine Fakemon channel, we find someone stolen like one of the members' Pokemon like every other day, basically. Like just taken for their own projects or just posting for clout, stuff like that.
There's a lot of Instagram has kind of become a nexus of Fakemon creators nowadays, but because there's not really any policing on that platform, you get a ton of people who are just reposting other people's designs or tracing over them, and it's really like you get kind of protective as an artist of stuff that you created. And
of course.
There's also pretty much constant drama over somebody taking somebody's idea, which is a lot harder to say definitively whether it's whether they did it on purpose or not. But either way, it's
always funny when people do that with like Game Freak.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, Game Freak stole my Fakemon idea of this specific animal that every single person in the world says would be a good Fakemon.
Yeah, like a red panda.
Yeah, actually, like a red panda, or like that one sea slug, the Glaucus atlanticus, which I've seen as a Fakemon in like 8 different projects at this point. Like they're everywhere.
It's one of my favorite
They
animals.
look like a Pokemon.
It really does. It looks like a Pokemon, but real. There's also there's another kind of sea slug called the Pikachu nudibranch, which is
yes.
which I loved so much that I made into a Fakemon that was like a Pika clone, but it was a slug, and it's currently the icon of the Fakemon Tumblr blog.
It's so cute. I love it so much.
I just that would be slugs a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, slugs are good. That would just be like the perfect thing to actually be adopted as a Pokemon because it's really full circle.
Yeah, it's like
this slug that looks like a Pikachu that was named after Pikachu, and then they make a Pokemon based off of that. Like that's just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful when you think about it.
Yeah, Pokemon is kind of, I mean, as much as the Pokemon company probably wants to shy away from this, the experience of being a fan of Pokemon means that you're creating your own unique narrative. Every single time you play the game, you name the character after yourself or whoever. You choose which Pokemon to be on your team. And really, everybody's individual experience of Pokemon is totally different from any other player of Pokemon, which I think is pretty cool. So it kind of stands to reason that there would be a huge fan community where people are literally creating their own Pokemon in their own region. Because that's sort of built into the series itself, even though they obviously aren't super friendly towards fan-made projects.
Like I understand it, but at the same time, it's just like the sheer like raw creative potential that's constantly coming out of Fakemon communities. It almost seems dumb for them to not attempt to tap into this anyway. But at the same time, it's like obviously none of the people like working on designs for the games can really like even look at stuff.
Yeah, James Turner
Yeah,
has said on Twitter when I've seen a couple of people tweet their Fakemon designs at James Turner, and he has to be like, "It's company policy. I literally cannot look at your fake Pokemon designs. I don't want to get influenced by them. I don't want to. I just can't. Legally
yeah.
speaking, I can't."
And it makes sense because they want that kind of separation to be there.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any Fakemon that have like directly maybe unintentionally or otherwise inspired a canon Pokemon, or maybe Fakemon that used a name that was then used by a canon Pokemon. I was surprised, for instance, so Scorbunny is a fire type bunny,
Yeah.
but the name caught me off guard. Scorbunny doesn't sound like an intuitive name for I've seen a lot of like Flarebit or Raburn or
Yeah.
things like that, the names like that are kind of more obvious. So I feel like they probably Googled basically every single permutation of rabbit and fire until they found one that wasn't used by any pre-existing Fakemon.
I remember seeing. I think it was sometime last gen. There was a Pokemon that used a name that had been used by a Fakemon before. It comes up so infrequently though, because it does seem like they really try to avoid it. Like one of the most common Fakemon that I'd seen, just like in general, was a otter named Water, and they explicitly did not call Oshawott that.
Water is such a phoning it in kind of name, but
It really is.
were you around for Watergate, by the way?
For what?
Watergate, the when Generation 5 was coming out, and they leaked the Gen 5 evolutions early, and basically everybody doubted that they were real, and there were all these like, look at all the artifacts, this is clearly photoshopped. It wasn't photoshopped. They really were another firefighting type evolution for Tepig, but it was called Watergate, as in Wotter.
I really do love that. I was definitely around for it, although I really don't remember like the starter evolutions leaking, because I just remember the entire dex leaking for 5th gen.
Yeah,
And that happened all at once.
that happened with Alola too. After they released the playable
The
demo on the 3DS, and people data mined it, and they got all of the data for all the Pokemon. Not the data, but they're just like their sprites.
They got the sprites that are used in the Pokedex specifically, like not like the full models or anything.
So I guess that might be why they didn't release, or they haven't released a playable demo for Sword and Shield.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because
they-
like the 3DS is just so hacked. Like there was no way that people weren't gonna just strip mine that thing. It's a little harder on the Switch. Like I'm very interested to see how like save editing is gonna work, because like there are save extractors for the Switch, and there are like the most common save editors work with Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee files, but like it's not as widespread as it is on the 3DS, because the 3DS is just almost ludicrously easy to hack.
Sure. Well, new generations of hardware means stricter hack prevention.
Yeah.
And also probably the online is going to have more rigorous screening to detect hacked or illegitimate Pokemon.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, most of the time, people are just hacking legitimate Pokemon. Like, they're skipping the effort portion of it.
Which
You know
I
what I
honestly
mean?
think is fine. Like,
It's fine.
if you don't want to spend like 15 hours out of your day trying to hatch eggs to get one with perfect IVs, then I personally don't see anything morally wrong with using PokeSave to just edit in a legitimate egg that happens to have 31 IVs.
Yeah. The thing is, the hard part about battling is the battling.
Yeah, you got to make the strategic choices, and it doesn't matter how perfect your Pokemon stats are if you choose the wrong move at the wrong time.
Exactly. Like, really, you're not really getting like the fractional differences with IVs anyway. Like with your attacking stats, like those can be lower. It's really just your speed that matters as far as like having a perfect one.
I wonder if I wonder what they were thinking when they made so many Alolan Pokemon so slow. Like Vikavolt is, I think, a prime example. It's a really
Oh my
cool
God.
looking Pokemon. It's a bug type. It's got a whatchamacallit, a rail gun
A
on its
railgun.
face. It's awesome. And
All
then
his
it has
Pokedex entries talk about how fast it is.
it has base 40 speed, and not only that, you cannot get it until the 4th island in the game, so you're basically, the game is over at that point, and you can
Yeah.
finally fully evolve your bug that you caught on the first route. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, in Ultra Sun and Moon, they did at least make it so you could evolve it at the power plant, so 3rd island instead of 4th island.
That okay,
Which is an improvement,
one
but it's
point to
nonetheless
Ultra
way
Sun.
too late.
Not
Yeah.
worth making an entire 2 other games for it, though.
Yeah. I can go on forever about how much of a disappointment those games were.
I would agree with you, but let's not, because probably some people actually like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon.
I would have liked them a lot more if I hadn't played Sun and Moon first.
Exactly. Yeah, I was in the same boat. I'm like, why did I spend $40 on the same game? I'm a
Yeah.
sucker.
I am also a sucker, truly. What would you consider the perfect Pokemon game then?
The perfect Pokemon game. So I was thinking about this earlier, and well, so as a creator, I really would love to see a Pokemon game that was sort of in the vein of Mario Maker, where you get to design your own creatures and environments for people to play through. So like a Pokemon Maker that's officially licensed. Now, there's a lot of issues with that though, because Pokemon is an RPG and it's a lot more complex than a Mario level.
Yeah.
So, they would have to, for instance, put in pretty rigorous like swear detector filters so that people aren't making explicit games using the Pokemon brand and then marketing them towards kids. So that's one issue with that. But basically, Poke Engine is that. So I'm kind of happy that that exists, even in an incomplete state.
Yeah, like it's just like a way to. I mean, like the one thing that would be most difficult with like any kind of like larger scale Pokemon creator would, I guess, be like the addition of original monsters.
Yeah,
if that would be possible at all, just because of like the amount of art that has to go into each of them.
Yeah, it could be something like
models, sprites.
Spore had a DS version that was like just the creature stage, and it was all 2D instead of the 3D that it was in the PC game, and you would just like drag parts together to make your own monster out of a bunch of pre-assembled parts, and you could unlock some new, like different kinds of teeth or wings and stuff like that as you progressed in the story to make your monster stronger. And I think that might be a decent balance between giving people the creativity to express themselves with Pokemon designs, but also having art assets that doesn't require people to, that has a built-up library of assets that people can use without knowing how to draw themselves.
Yeah. That's of course that's like the real only limiting factor, because the whole thing about Pokemon and the way it works is that there are just like so many variables that go into making a Pokemon: its type, its ability, its moveset, like the way that it distributes experience, the way it gains experience. Like all these things are just numbers. And
in Pokemon Essentials for RPG Maker XP, which most fan games, including Pokemon Uranium, are made with, it's literally just a text file that you can go in, and all of your Pokemon's attributes are listed on a single, descriptor, and you can change them as you see fit. So you really realize that a Pokemon is just like a string of numbers and text.
And then like a couple image files attached to it, right?
But that's not even what a Pokemon is. A Pokemon is like its concept. Is I think the most important part that can't be represented by data and couldn't be represented by like a build your own Pokemon feature in a game.
Yeah.
The best Pokemon are the ones with the best ideas behind them. Like one of my favorites that's been revealed so far for Gen 8 is Poltegeist.
Yeah.
It's so wonderful. It's a ghost that lives in a teapot. Its body is made out of tea. It can come out of all the different parts of the teapot. It's so British. It's got this.
It's very cute.
It's so cute, and the teapot that it's in has all this like porcelain details and stuff like that. It's adorable. It's charming. The name is great. It's super creative, and you can't really get that if you're just kind of throwing fangs and wings on a monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like that's always been like one of the main like bones of contention with people with Fakemon, is that a lot of people are just coming from it from like a more naturalistic angle, like here's animal, add element.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something that comes up in Fakemon quite a lot.
Definitely. And, I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with making a creature that's like an electric cheetah, for instance. It makes sense. Cheetahs are fast. Electricity is also fast.
They got cool stripes on them.
They got cool stripes. You can make the stripe look like a lightning bolt. It's perfect. Done. All right. There we go. Concept. But I think that you can and probably should go deeper if you're going to make a compelling Pokemon design or a Fakemon design that's going to resonate with people, that people are going to see it and then instantly think like, oh, wow, that's super cool. That's creative. I want to catch that. I want to add it to my...
Yeah. The one spot where I think it's a really fun way to make a Fakemon is kind of coming up with a name and working from there. Which is how I always feel about there's two Pokemon from Pokemon Sage, which aren't in the current version as far as I know, but are on the decks. And their names are Isotope and Chill Noble. And they're nuclear ice slugs. And
That's so great.
And the second one has like nuclear towers as its shell.
I like that a lot. It's like cold fusion, right?
Yeah, that's like when the basis of it is just a pun. I like it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, you don't even need to know what it looks like to know what it looks like intuitively based on those names alone.
Yeah, they are very, very cute. Yeah. And out of the new Pokemon, like the ones that I like the most are the ones with the goofy concepts like that. Like I really love Cramorant and its stupid fish.
It's so doofy looking.
I do wish its wings looked a little more detailed. That's one thing that's something that's kind of bugged me about more recent bird designs in Pokemon, is that they don't really put a naturalistic approach to how they draw like feathers on wings.
No, they don't. But they haven't really done that since the newer generations. All the newer Pokemon are way more stylized and chibified and way more colorful than first generation, where there's Pidgey and Spearow, and they basically just look like different variations of fluffy, scruffy birds.
Yeah. I do like the way that they make more use of the of like more varied proportions, because obviously they don't have to fit everything into like a 56 by 56 sprite.
Yeah, so you can have like really long Pokemon like Celesteela and Alolan Executor.
Yeah, like Dragalge would not work.
No.
in a limited space, because there's so much detail on its like leafiness that you wouldn't be able to capture in a small sprite. Like, I mean, people have made sprites of like of newer Pokemon, but even then, like, they're usually using the black and white limit of 96, which is a lot more forgiving.
In one of the fake leaks, there was a stick insect Pokemon that I absolutely love, that's super long and has all of these like limbs and little sticky bits extending out of it. And one of my first thoughts on seeing that, not that it's a real Pokemon, but it totally could be, and it could only be a newer Pokemon because it just wouldn't have fit in like Ruby and Sapphire with a 64 by 64 limit on the sprites. But now there's basically no limit as to how big they can be, hence Gigantamax.
Hence Gigantamax. I guess that we can push that into like one of the actual pieces of news that have happened, which, like, on an unrelated note, super love how little has come out. Yeah, it's been like, I'm tantalized. I can admit I'm fucking tantalized.
There's going to be so much stuff to discover.
I mean, hopefully. I don't want to be putting on my clown makeup when there's like 2 new Pokemon.
Well, we know basically nothing. So at the very least, there's going to be new towns. There's going to be 8 gyms. There's going to be a whole story that we really don't know anything about. So there's a lot to look forward to. I really hope that there's going to be more. There's going to be more Pokemon, because it's Pokemon. We want more Pokemon, but I mean, we haven't seen any legendaries besides the main 2. We don't even know what types Zacian and Zamazenta are. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to discover, even amongst the little scraps that they've given us now. But Gigantamax.
I mean, how many new Pokemon are you hoping for roughly? Because I feel like anywhere around like the 70 to 80 range is probably ideal.
Yeah, that's what they've been for the last couple of generations. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wouldn't be upset if they had more. I'd like it if they broke at least the 900 mark with this gen.
Yeah, which they need, I guess, like 92 or 93. Yeah, if you're counting Meltan and Melmetal.
Are those Gen 8 Pokemon?
If you go by Cerebee's logic, they are Gen 7 Pokemon, because Let's Go, Eevee, and Pikachu are technically Gen 7 games, and it's just like by like the base framework of the battle system, there was like nothing really added to the existing formula. And I think there's something about like the way their index numbers are stored that like they are with all the other Pokemon in Gen 7, whereas Gen 8 Pokemon would be further on.
All right, I'll defer to Cerebee on this one.
I will always defer to Cerebee. Which, like, related note, happy 20th birthday to Cerebee. Cannot believe that site has been online for that long. That's nuts.
Has not changed in 20 years.
It has the same design.
I'm like, maybe this year Cerebee will update its layout. Nope.
Maybe this year Cerebi will have actual posts and not just have the news be adding things to the top of a page.
It's really impressive, but then again, Cerebi is he's like one guy. He probably has a bunch of informants and all the people on the forums and stuff, but he's really one guy who manages maybe the most trafficked Pokemon news site in the world.
Yeah.
And he's, besides like Pokemon.com, arguably, though, I use Cerebi more than Pokemon.com, so...
I use Cerebi far more. Like, the only site that I use even close to as much is Bulbapedia, and of course, like, that by its nature is a lot of people doing it.
Right, so really, it's impressive. It's monumental for one person to have done this, even if you consider the method by which he updates his own website.
It's bonkers.
It cracks me up so much. But, like, I mean, again, it's 20 years old and it's never redone its whole formula. And literally, it looks like a website from 1999, which it is.
One thing that I really loved about the format is today I was just looking to see how much news had happened since I last recorded. It's only really 2 things, which we'll get into shortly, but like I could just click on October news and it's just all the news from October on one giant ass page.
Yeah, I will say the visual presentation of it is very nice, like the way that it puts the anime episode screenshots up front and center. If there's a new Pokemon, it's right in the middle of the display. You know,
there's no ads.
Yeah, no ads at all. How does he make money?
I don't understand. Like the amount of traffic the site gets, like it's got to be.
How do I give Cerebi my money for making this amazing free resource for all of us?
I really want to give Cerebi some money. If anyone figures it out, please let me know on Twitter. I want to give him money. He deserves it. Gigantamax.
So I think it's cool.
I do think it's cool.
I love Charizard, so I'm happy.
I could not really care less about Charizard, so it's like the least important thing for me out of this one. So one of the 2 reveals since the last episode was leaked in Korokoro like 20 minutes before the video that they were going to post came out, which was kind of funny. I say leaked in Korokoro, like the Korokoro magazine was coming up the next day. It was just posted slightly early. So the Gigantamax forms for Charizard, Pikachu, Eevee, Meowth, and Butterfree.
Fat Pikachu is real.
Fat Pikachu is real. This is one of the... this was contained in one of the early leaks. So
same
that
with
one,
Long Meowth. I can't believe that
Long Meowth.
Fat Pikachu and Long Meowth are real, canonical. You can get them in the video game.
Yeah, I think it's like you get them right away if you have a save file for Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, and then I think you can still encounter them otherwise with like a little bit of effort.
I hope so, because otherwise that would really suck, because you're basically gating a Pokemon behind a $60 purchase of another game. That said...
Or if you're in Canada, an $80 purchase.
Oh, God. Of course, you're also gating all of the Virgin exclusives behind the other games, so that's kind of been their whole business model.
Yeah, but I mean, like, at least those you can trade. I mean, like, what I'm going to do is I have Let's Go Eevee. My girlfriend has Let's Go Pikachu. We're going to take each other's game cards and put them in the other Switch.
Oh, nice. Yeah, then you get both save files. You get both Eevees, Pikachus, whatever. Are you even going to use it, though? I really feel like using a Pikachu for, like, the 80th time isn't going to have the same impact, you know?
Well, I'm going to put it on as big of a TV as possible so I can see the Pikachu at the absolute massive unit size that it deserves to be.
You know, I love Gigantamax Pikachu. There's one thing that I wish that they did differently. I wish they'd given it the white tummy. I don't know why. It doesn't have the
white tummy, I think, was only in like the earliest sprites, and yellow version. Yellow version had the white tummy, I think.
Detective Pikachu has a white tummy.
Detective Pikachu also has a white tummy. You're right. I kind of wish it just literally looked like a sprite. Because like that would just be fun.
Like the yellow version Follower Overworld sprite, but massive.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be so...
I also want it to make surprise Pikachu face at least once.
Oh, please, yes. They're going to put a reference into that meme because it's wholesome and it's everywhere. They have to put a reference in the game. They've done memes in the past, or at least a localization team has done some, offhanded reference to like something awful memes because
but that person doesn't work for Game Freak anymore. I know that.
Do you know who it is?
Nob Ogar, I don't know his last name. It's Ogarasawa or something like that. He was the person who Black Belt Nob was named after in every game.
Cool. Right. Yeah, there were multiple Black Belt Nobs, weren't there?
Yeah, but either way, he, I believe the last game he worked on was Diamond and Pearl. where he had like "My Pokemon is fight" as a trainer
Classic.
dialogue, which was really good. But yeah, no, I think they probably still have at least one person with a sense of humor and an online presence on their localization team.
Does Long Meowth count as an internet reference?
Like, I feel like that has got to be referencing Longcat.
Yeah.
Because like it couldn't not be.
Why would you make a Meowth long if you're not referencing Longcat? It's a cat. It's long.
If you hold a cat like you hold Longcat, it does the same pose. Obviously, like any cat can be Longcat, but like Longcat.
I love how they're making all of these new regional variants like really long.
Yeah.
Like Weezing.
Really long Weezing, really long Farfetch'd, really long Exeggutor. They're just like, fuck a sprite limit. We can make them tall now.
It's like I had a similar experience when I was like 7 years into developing Pokemon Uranium, and I realized that I had unrestricted creative control and I could do whatever I want. And so I put a Pokemon in the game that's literally the Titanic.
Titanice!
I'm just like, I am the god of this world. Nobody can stop me.
Yeah, the true I really don't give a fuck moment. If it ever interacted with a canon Pokemon, I would love if it just dies the second it faces an Avalugg.
Yeah, it has the ability Forewarn. I've gotten so much shit about that design and I don't care. I don't care. I mean, James Cameron made $1 billion making a movie out of Titanic. I can make a silly Fakemon that's like super rare, so very few people will actually encounter it even.
It's so cool. I really do love to see it. I remember I saw one Fakemon that was like based off of a jumbo jet and it was just a whale. And it like, I really like those kind of mechanical designs in general. And if they're a specific reference, it's even better.
That's great.
People just don't like Objectmons, is what I have found. In the wider Pokemon fandom, they just don't like them.
It's because they make bad fur bait.
Oh god, that's really it, isn't it?
It really is it. You can't draw it as an anthro character, so it's therefore bad. Throw it in the trash.
I mean, someone, I'm sure, has tried to draw a Furbait Garbodor before.
Yeah.
And if they haven't, I'm willing it into existence right now. Someone will do it.
I can put your mind at ease. It's already out there.
Okay, good. But someone make it anyway. I want to see it.
But that's kind of what I love is the Pokemon designs that are really unexpected yet fun. I mean, I know I keep talking about Poltegeist and how good it is, but it's so good and it's cute. Same with Impidimp, actually, which a lot of people hate. I love it.
It's just he's a little bastard.
He's just a little creature.
He cannot help this. I really love the running bit that they have not at any point officially revealed Impidimp, but it has been in 3 separate pieces of promotional material at this point.
He showed up in the live stream and he fogged up the camera so you couldn't see Galarian Ponyta.
Galarian Ponyta, which is
a psychic type.
It's a psychic type.
It's not a fairy type.
Which pissed off everyone.
I think it's kind of cool, but whatever. I mean, so it's a unicorn, right?
I think it's literally just to make it so that it's not weak to poison. Because that's its whole thing, is that it's like a poison cure.
Yeah. And Psychic is good against poison.
And Psychic is good against poison. Doesn't resist it, but that doesn't really matter.
It'd be cool if it evolved into a Pegasus.
Yeah.
Pegasus Rapidash?
A Pegasus Rapidash. The fake leak had a Rapidash in it, the person who was doing the TGC art, but it just looks like a really cool horse, which I feel like is the same mistake people made with when Alolan Meowth was revealed and they were speculating Alolan Persian. They're like, oh, it's going to be a cool panther. No, it's a fat cat with a dumb face.
It looks like Garfield.
It's perfect.
It's great.
The one thing that I don't like about it is the specific way in which its roundness shows up does not, to me, show fluffiness, which is what it's intending to show, I imagine. And I think that's just the limits of the texture palettes when they were working on the game. Because whenever I see it in the manga or anything like that, you can really tell that its face is supposed to be really fluffy.
I just wish they'd made it more obviously long-haired, because its name is Persian, right? And Persian cats are really long hair, fluffy cats with the wide faces that have all the fur coming off of it. Mm-hmm. So having it be a fat-faced cat, a fat-faced fat cat makes perfect sense, but it's not long-haired on the rest of its body. It's still kind of skinny. So
well, they chunked it up a little bit, but it's not in proportion with the head at all. And yeah, so if they had better fur texture in general, because like most furry Pokemon don't really have a fur texture, they just have a solid color texture.
They're made up of like, blocks that suggest a lot of fur but aren't really showing a lot of fur. And it just sort of dovetails into the whole Pokemon cartoony aesthetic. Like, it would be hard to animate if it had a bunch of realistic fur, right? And they have to do it. With ever since the Alolan anime, they've had a very fluid animation style, but also very simple with very little shading. And I think that in order to have new Pokemon designs that animate nicely, they're probably eliminating some of the more complicated and, I guess, biological details. So there's less like irregular spots, for instance. If it has spots, they'll be in an orderly pattern on its body. And if it has fur, it'll be in managed clumps. I mean, Pokemon like Eevee, we've seen get more refined and sleeker as generations have gone on.
Yeah. Except for Gigantamax Eevee,
which is extremely fluffy.
It's just a big fluffy baby.
It's so cute.
We didn't even talk about the Gigantamax Butterfree, which I love.
It's Mothra, right?
It's fucking Mothra.
It's great. It's great. I still need to see the new Godzilla movie though.
It's okay.
I
did see it. I do. I was like, basically, I was there to see the monsters. All the reviews said that there are more monsters and less people, but
perfect.
The movie in practice was less monsters than I expected.
Really, that was so. I know we're getting off of Pokemon for a second, but
kaiju are on topic always,
and I mean also because Gigantamax is basically kaiju battle.
Yeah, it's just kaiju big battle.
Okay, so prediction for Pokemon Sword and Shield. I really, really hope that there's Gigantamax as part of the story, and specifically that there's a raid battle, because that's a feature that we know you can do and co-op with other people. I hope that there's a raid battle in the story against a legendary with NPCs on your team.
That'd be fucking good.
It'd be so cool, right?
Yeah, like raid battles are such a good like concept to work with. Like if you're gonna take anything from Go, then that's probably one of the best things to pull, just because they're a collaborative effort.
And it looks so cool.
There are ones
strategic.
you could do with online, right?
Yeah,
but one with NPCs would be really good.
But like a one that's part of the story, because like otherwise, if it's just in the wild area, it's a feature that a player could completely miss altogether throughout their journey. But
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like they could better utilize it. And so you could have like a climactic boss fight where you don't have to catch it until after you beat the raid, just like in Pokemon Go.
Yeah, I also think that it would be nice. This is something that they've, repeatedly whiffed over the years, is just have something that you can battle that you don't catch.
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
I mean,
there's some kind of big ass machine.
That would go against like the spirit of the series. Is that every single thing you battle, you can catch it.
Like...
we did that with Uranium with the final boss. It's a super powered up version of the legendary that you can't obtain normally. But and of course, immediately afterwards, people were like, "I want that. How do I get that?" It's like you can't. It's because that's there to be a boss fight.
That was some of the speculation that was with Ultra Beasts, is that they wouldn't be catchable, which I think would have still been interesting. But yeah, no, I am glad they are ultimately.
Except for Kartana, I hate that thing. It's so annoying to fight against.
I love it.
It sets up one sword stance and you're screwed.
You're dead because it has like 190 base attack. It's fine.
Its stats are ridiculous.
Absolutely absurd.
And it has beast boost, so it gets a boost every time it kills something. It's but
yeah, like I guess like the last like non-catchable fightable monsters were in the Pokestar Studios in Black and White 2.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too. That was such a fun and horribly underutilized feature because you could literally just breeze through the game, and I don't think I took advantage of it at all.
I only played the mandatory one.
But then I see like some of the footage of some of the later like movies that you could do, and not only is it a really cool feature, but there was a bunch of cool stuff. Like there were human NPCs that you could battle against.
Yeah, there was a giant mecha Tyranitar. There's a huge like impervious ghost.
There's a giant foot.
The robots that I love so much that I wish were real Pokemon.
Those the battle sprites for Pokestar Studios are excellent.
Absolutely excellent. Just like some of the best pixel art that the Pokemon series has ever managed.
Oh, I miss pixel art in Pokemon games.
I really, truly do. I'm glad that some people like pick up the mantle and just like make them.
Yeah,
for the
there's
new
a whole
monsters.
every single new Pokemon is going to have a lot of sprites made for it, especially on DeviantArt. Still, people still use DeviantArt. I still use DeviantArt,
Yep.
and I even run. So here's a fun fact: I run a Pokemon sprite group on DeviantArt called Pokemon Sprite Factory, where people can submit their Pokemon pixel art. It's still going.
I'm like 90% sure I do follow that group.
I
My
start-
DeviantArt, which exists only for finding Fakemon for the blog.
I started it like in, I don't know, a decade ago. It's still going. It's still basically unchanged.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I really do like that there are like a bunch of sprite interpretations of every new Pokemon as they come out. One thing that I found really cool is there's a ROM hack called Pokemon Orange that's built on Crystal, and they have Alolan forms in it. And as every new Galarian form has been revealed, there's been someone who's posted in the server like a GSC styled sprite of the new Pokemon, which like working with like the color limits of the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
It's real cool.
That
It's real
sounds
cool that people
super
will still
fun.
make that kind of stuff
never
with
heard of it.
animations and everything.
I've never heard of Pokemon Orange before. You say it's a crystal
it's-
ROM hack?
Yeah, it's a crystal ROM hack that's based on like the Orange Islands part of the anime.
No Fakemon, though.
No Fakemon as far as I know. It's original Dex. Like it has like the 253 Pokemon I think that max out a Gold and Silver ROM hack. So I think there's some things removed, some things added in. Although they had figured out how to pad the Dex by adding forms.
Huh. Interesting. Is that really a hard limit? I mean, I know that. I guess they're
It's
8-bit
literally just
games.
because 256 is the hard limit. You'd have to redo all the pointers in the entire game if you added another bit to that.
Yeah, that would be really complicated. I can see why people don't
it's
do
really
that.
not worth the effort.
And of course, Fakemon too are kind of take a lot of effort, and not everybody's going to love them, which is why I guess
Yeah.
Fakemon ROM hacks are the exception and not the rule.
Yeah, like Pokemon Prism has some Fakemon, but there's only 5.
Yeah, and you can
Which makes
probably
it-
just avoid them.
One is part of like they're part of the main story, but like in a way that you don't actually need to catch them.
So yeah,
But they're cool, and I do like them. A lot of people don't really care for the designs, but I think that's mostly just because of the way they're sprited.
people like what they like, and they tend to be, really judgmental. I mean, every single time they reveal a new Pokemon design, like a new canon Pokemon design, there are people railing against it.
Really shitting on it.
People just love to complain.
Yeah, I know. Like
Especially about
people will shit on Fakemon designs a lot too, and it's like, what's the point in doing this?
Like, come on, man, you've got nothing to gain from acting superior.
What is there better to do?
Like no matter even the worst quality, lowest effort Fakemon design, at least the creator made something, and the haters made nothing.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
So take a deep breath, go for a walk, draw your own Fakemon.
The best Fakemon out of the 5 in Prism is one. It's called Fancero, and it's a legendary bird, but it's also missing no.
Oh, cool.
And so like its animation has like the missing no blocks show up in the glitch. It's so good.
Oh, right, because Prism was a hack of Crystal, right?
Yes,
So the sprites do animate.
the sprites do animate.
That's cool.
And it also does learn Water Gun twice by level up.
Of course.
So
And
it
Sky
has the
Attack,
important detail.
Water Gun, and Sky Attack.
And Sky Attack, yeah. Yeah, it's really good. One thing we didn't talk about when we mentioned Galarian Ponyta is how they revealed it.
Yeah, oh my
Well, we
god.
talked about it a little bit when you talked about the camera.
Shoutouts to Cerebi for staying up all 24 hours.
Really, but I'm so glad that happened like right before the 20th anniversary so people can really appreciate the sheer amount of work he puts in.
He's so committed, and I really admire that.
He will buy any game that has Pokemon content in it so that he can get like his own screenshots of the content in that game.
He plays all the way through the games on the first day. And all the post-game
He got
content.
Animal Crossing Pocket Camp when they had like that really limited like Pokemon crossover thing.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
it was just like a couple of Pokemon appeared as like I don't know, like fucking furniture items or something, maybe clothing. And he's like, "Well, I guess I got to play this." I'm like, you don't have to.
I wonder if I wonder how big his Pokemon collection is. Probably absolutely huge. Puts all of us to shame. And also, does he ever play the games like for fun, or is this like his job?
I don't know. I don't know how much fun he could possibly have at this point, given how much he has to like physically put effort into it.
Well, he must love Pokemon because otherwise,
I'm pretty sure he does love Pokemon, and I really do hope his partner loves Pokemon as much as he does.
I really do hope he makes money off of his website.
In some way. I know he does get promo copies of the games, so at the very least he gets that.
Maybe he's being paid by the Pokemon Company.
Maybe they're
That makes
paying
sense.
him. Just they should.
He's very by the book. I mean, he respects canon. He'll never report on any fan content at all whatsoever. So nope, not even the least. He used to have a page on fake Pokemon on the website, but it hasn't been updated since like Ruby and Sapphire. So
because like the things that it had, some of the things that it had on it were like Pokemon Factory, but like the old Pokemon Factory before it was like rebooted in 2002.
I remember Pokemon Factory. That was fun.
Still around.
What really?
Yep, they have a Discord server and everything.
Who's paying the hosting fees on that website?
The same person who has been paying them since 2002.
Oh my god. Yeah, round of applause.
Yeah, Pokemon Factory, they just have a lot of staff shuffles. Essentially, people move in and out of the project a lot. You could still check it out. It still exists. I'll probably put some links in the description just because, yeah, there's a lot of people I've known for more than a decade on that project.
Wow. Yeah, that's commitment. I think that might have been one of the first times I was ever exposed to the concept of Fakemon.
Oh yeah, absolutely, same. That's how it was. Like, it was the point where like the internet was so young and I was so prone to misinformation that I just literally thought that that's how new Pokemon got made.
Yeah, one of my earliest memories of ever using the internet was, and I'm not kidding about this, using Google to search Pokemon cheat codes, and then looking up like glitches and like screenshots of glitched Pokemon, which both terrified and fascinated me in equal measure.
I am so glad that Bulbapedia's glitch Pokemon reporting is so thorough.
It's really in depth.
They have absolutely everyone on there.
Yeah,
which is insane.
It's like they've got like all of the like the height and weight of every single glitched Pokemon. Its height and weight are literally just garbage data. Game
and so are their types. Like they have like TM57 is a glitch Pokemon type.
They have all of them. But
you didn't need this.
But you know what? They don't have all of their pages on fan made content are just awful.
Or they're on someone's user page.
Oh my god, I have such a beef with Bulbapedia and the way that they treat fan games.
Yeah, no, it's kind of sucks because like some of them are really like Uranium is probably one of the most prominent ones that's ever existed.
Probably, yeah.
Like it's You Guys Are Prism.
It's on the fan lore wiki, which is run by the Organization of Transformative Works that also runs the Archive of Our Own, which is a big fan fiction database. And they mentioned that in passing. It doesn't have its own article. I guess I could start it because it's a wiki. But Bulbapedia has, and the Pokemon wiki, as it turns out, both have very strict canon content only policies, except as it applies to like shipping on Bulbapedia for some reason. They've got articles about every single ship, like pallet shipping or Kanto shipping or whatever that ship is where it's Ash and Latios from the Pokemon 5th movie. But they won't have, but the only page they have on fan games is ROM hacks. And it's full of incorrect content. I have a life's goal. Not really. No, this is definitely not my life's goal. I've tried in the past to get them to update their fan content page to make it a little bit more representative. It's just not. Oh, Bulbapedia. But you know what? It's a really useful resource.
So yeah, it seems weird that they don't even have like, the most prominent Fakemon projects, which would probably be like You Guys or Prism.
Yeah, or, even ROM hacks like Shiny Gold, for instance, and Oldie But a Goodie. It was like a recreation of Pokemon Gold and Silver in Fire Red before Heart Gold and Soul Silver came out.
Yeah. Those ones are all really good.
Or
even just like the concept of like a complete Dex hack.
Yeah,
because those are real fun to do.
Definitely. I just feel like, they fan creations should be acknowledged as an important part of it. Even if they're not official, and even if some of them face legal action, because they can make or break somebody's experience of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think fan projects are one of the main things that like sustain my interest between games.
Yeah, I mean,
Like it's also just like a really good creative outlet, and like so many fandoms these days are so shaped by their fan content that like they wouldn't exist without it. Like Sonic wouldn't like Sonic's most relevant game was functionally a fan project.
yeah, Sonic Mania,
Sonic
right?
Mania.
Yeah, and it started as a fan project before they brought the developers online. Pokemon would never do that for a variety of reasons. Number one, Pokemon is a much bigger brand. I mean, it's like literally net worth is $90 billion.
Yeah, no, it's the like one of the, if not the single largest media project of all time.
Oh, it is. It is. I've looked it up on Wikipedia. It is number one.
Number one. That doesn't. Yeah, that makes sense. And
Number
like the
two is Hello
Pokemon
Kitty.
company itself is a three-way holding,
Yeah.
which that also informs a little bit of how like draconian the processes must be to do anything. Because like it's like 33% creatures, 33% Game Freak, 33% Nintendo.
And I mean, no matter what, it all turns around the video game. Mm-hmm. Because like there's the anime, there's the merchandise, there's the TCG, but all of it, there's a spin-off games, but all of it is powered by the core series RPGs and all the designs that come through there. So every single design has to be thoroughly vetted, not only to make sure that it's appealing, that it's not the same as any other Pokemon. They have to make sure that its name isn't like an ethnic slur in some obscure language.
Yeah, they've made that mistake before.
Is that true with like Trico's name, that it means something really dirty?
The main thing I always think of is that you can't trade Cofagrigus because of the unfortunate slur that is in the direct center of its name.
Oh boy. They kind of brought that one on themselves with the nickname censors, and part of me is kind of sad that I could no longer nickname my rival Pisshead like I did in Gold version. Actually, no, in Gold version, because I was 7, it was my first ever Pokemon game, and I named my rival Butthead, but I didn't have enough
B-U-T?
Yes, it was Buthead.
So it's Bathed.
Please, Bathed was my father.
Yeah, there's the same thing with Pokemon Go. Like, no one can even see your Pokemon's nicknames unless you're trading. So I don't understand why it matters. But
I think I have a theory, and it has to do with, so back in like the early days of Pokemon Go, you could see nicknames on gyms, and of course there was your Pokemon named racial slurs and named after sex acts and stuff like that.
I honestly don't remember that at all because the gym system was so shitty when it started
it was
that
so
I just
bad.
didn't do it.
The new gyms are so much better. But there was almost an international incident where Chinese nationals had location spoofed and taken over a gym in Japan and put up a bunch of Pokemon with nicknames that were like pro-Chinese government. So,
do you ever think about how fucking stupid the world is?
Oh my god.
Every day of my goddamn life, something stupid like that will happen.
There's actually an XKCD comic about this exact thing where it's just like, oh god, somebody put a Pokemon in the gym next to mine, and it has the trainer's got like a far right, pro far right nickname or something like that. And his partner's like, why don't you go back to 2002 and tell your past self that? And he's like, all right, I'll do that. And he travels back in time, and he's explaining it, and the past self is like, so is liking Pokemon a thing that people your age typically do? And he's like, you know what?
Eat shit, past self. God. I'm glad that if you have a Pokemon with a swear in their name that existed before they put in the filters, you're allowed to still have it. And it's funny because you can just refer to them as legacy nicknames and make it sound real official.
So if you named all of your Pokemon fuck, then you're good.
Yeah. I got Big Fuckman the Gyarados, and it's never gonna change. He's Big Fuckman forever, baby.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I named a Snorlax. I think I named him Big Daddy, maybe.
I mean, that would still be allowed.
Yeah, no, that's still fine.
You're allowed to be gross, you just have to be more creative.
Yeah. Which
I mostly just name things Big Chungus. Like, I think I have like 4 separate things named this. Pokemon has a lot of Big Chunguses.
Yeah, they're keeping up the Big Chungus content, which I appreciate.
There's always going to be a new Chungus.
A greater Chungus on the horizon.
Yeah.
The Chungus is always greater.
They got Chunguses and they have Long Boys. They're really keeping it to the meme potential here.
I mean, every single new piece of content is like a breadcrumb, and we're all feral pigeons.
Yeah. Yeah, truly. Well, we've basically gone through everything that I put in the outline for the episode, so I guess now's a good time to go to some of the questions we got on Twitter.
Sounds good.
I'm always excited to take questions because people will send us just wonderful, wonderful things all the time. Honestly, none of these questions are as bad as the ones I was getting when I started this podcast, so
that's
it's
relief.
Fine. I'll start with Stephanie's question because she's directly behind me right now, and she can yell her displeasure at me talking about it out loud. Do you think it's possible to make a regional form of Absol that makes it even remotely redeemable?
Does she have any idea what kind of hornet's nest she's about to kick? People love
She knows
Absol.
exactly what kind of hornet's nest she's about to kick. She hates Absol more than anything.
Why? It's like cool. It's got a sword on its head.
Do you want to voice your opinion on Absol directly into the microphone?
It's a fucking emo bitch who listens to All Time Low, except instead of being a 14-year-old girl, he's like a 26-year-old man.
26-year-old man who listens to All Time Low as a Pokemon.
Yeah, but like at least he's aesthetic about it.
At least he's aesthetic about it. He does got a good black and white color scheme. Well, I mean, what could you even do with a regional form of Absol? I feel like it's such like it seems like a very specific cultural reference to like a portender of doom.
Make it pastel goth.
Make it pastel goth. Would it be better if it was pastel goth?
Maybe if you got rid of its stupid horn.
If you got rid of its stupid horn?
Yeah, like file it down.
Just file it down to a nub. It'd be like Hellboy, where it just kind of looks like a goggle holster.
It'd give it like glam nails.
Yeah. Yeah. Pastel goth, make it real colorful. I feel like that's a common theme with regional variants, so that's not even totally out of the question.
I mean, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, no, someone could do it in fan art. I have like a very particular power in which I can will things into existence by saying them on a podcast, so someone make it happen.
Pastel goth Absol. You got it? You got your prompt? Go for it.
I've got a question from Haunting the Morgue on Twitter. What are your thoughts on the Fakemon that someone tried to leak as real recently? They did eventually admit that they were fake. Did it suck to pull one over on people, or do you find it kind of interesting that someone could do that? So I did send you a couple of these.
Yeah, I'm looking at them now. I've always wanted to make a fake leak, so I'm kind of jealous that this guy pulled it off and people believed him. I like them. I mean, like they just look like Fakemon to me.
Yeah, I think like they did a pretty good job with the style, considering they were just doing mouse drawings.
Yeah, my favorite, as I mentioned before, are the stick insects.
Yeah, no, the stick insects are really good. Stick insects are the perfect thing to work with, like the new ability to have wider proportions.
Yeah, they're just really cool. The silhouette is unique. It doesn't look like any other Pokemon. It looks like you could have some unique ability stuff. I mean, I wish they were real, but the fact that they're Fakemon doesn't really bother me because I just like Fakemon. So
yeah, I want to find this person and be like, hey, we have this nice little community of Fakemon creators. Do you wanna join up?
Yeah, join Poke-Engine.
Join Poke-Engine, everyone. There's a Halloween event going on right now, and it's really cute.
It's super fun. It's in the Atlas region, which is by Kyle Dove. You might know Kyle Dove as the person who once did the Pokemon Showdown backgrounds before they were rips from the games.
Yeah, I've just known Kyle Dove because we were part of a fan game project like way back in 2003. I have known Kyle Dove forever.
Yeah, he's a really, really long-standing, sort of a pillar of the fan game community. And
yeah, because he made so many tile sets that people used in their games.
Yeah, Kyle Dove's tiles were in like 90% of all fan games at one point, back when they were like the only ones that sort of emulated the Diamond and Pearl style, but they kind of had this nice washed out aesthetic that I think resonated with a ton of people, so they were everywhere.
They were absolutely everywhere. He's on my short list of people I'd love to get on this podcast at some point, because like I would love to pick his brain about some stuff.
I'm sure you'd have a lot of interesting stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think they were just kind of doing it for fun, and it was like an exercise for them to make art.
Yeah.
And they clearly weren't going to try to do this grift long term. Like it was just them making stuff.
Yeah, you get some free internet attention out of it. Why not?
Yeah, it's better promo than just making Fakemon.
Wait, so I'm looking at them now. There's one that kind of looks like Poplio, I guess. It's a water type, and the first one's like a little guppy, and the second one's a cat, and the third one looks like Primarina but with legs.
Yeah, I those are the ones I don't like.
Those don't look like Pokemon, really. I mean, they look like Fakemon.
Look a little bit to the right of those, and there's the sandworms. That's the shit I do like.
Yeah, that's awesome. We need more worm Pokemon, period. End of discussion. Worms are awesome.
There's not even an earthworm yet.
Diglett.
He's a mole, technically.
He's an earthworm. Look at his dex entries. It talks about how it tills the soil and it can't be exposed to harsh sunlight and dry surfaces. That's an earthworm.
I guess that is an earthworm, isn't it?
Yeah.
What if they gave a Diglett regional variant dry skin as an ability so it was immune to water? That'd be fucking sick.
That'd be interesting. I'd like to see. I mean, like they just can't. They can't answer the question of what lies underneath Diglett. It's the mystery is the defining characteristic of Diglett. So
I do love whenever you were able to look at the bottom of a sprite and it's just dirt.
It's just flat.
He's appearing from nothing.
Yeah, well, when you send him out of his Pokeball, he emerges out of the earth instead of most Pokemon, which appear in
drop
ground. So they went through that extra trouble, which I appreciate.
Yeah, well, that was especially good with Pokemon Black and White, where like they did an animation based on like how heavy they were, which I thought was a really nice touch to do with the sprite animations.
I think they still have it, but it's less noticeable.
It's less noticeable.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diglett and Dugtrio explicitly appeared out of the ground. They did not drop.
That's true. They really, the little attention to details are what sells me on some Pokemon, I think.
Yep, I would actually also absolutely recommend putting Aerial Ace on your Dugtrio and then strapping a Flyinium Z on it and using the Flying type Z move.
Supersonic Sky Strike.
from a Dugtrio. I would highly recommend it. It's very funny. Another question from Morg. If you could see any new type combo this gen that hasn't been used before, what would it be? For me, it's Bug Dragon. 100%.
For me, it's one of my favorite type is electric, and so there's a bunch of unused types with electric or that have just been on like Rotom. So I would love to see an electric fighting type, an electric grass type, an electric ice type, or an electric poison type. I'm not choosy. Just give me more electric types. I love them.
Yeah, we also haven't had an electric fighting.
Yeah,
An electric psychic and electric rock are only regional forms so far. Nothing like original.
Right. Alolan Raichu, I guess. Alolan Gold being one of the more forgettable Alolan. So
yeah, they didn't even bother to announce it. That's how much they didn't care.
You could have like an electric rock type that was like quartz crystals that conducted electrical current, or an electric poison type that's a battery.
Yeah, there was a really, really, really cool Fakemon, which I have actually discussed on this podcast before, which was an electric poison type, and it was a lemon battery.
Oh, I love that.
It's so cute. And then the second one was like a UFO,
it could
but
be an
also
electric
still a lemon.
Grass type if it was a lemon.
It's going off the acidity of it, I guess, was what they were going with.
I think probably my favorite, not to talk about my own designs too much, but one of my favorite Fakemon that I've ever invented, and I came up with the idea when I was like 10. But it's an electric grass type, and it's a single-celled organism. It's an amoeba that uses photosynthesis to create an electric current and attack. And its evolution is it's like a walking solar panel. So the whole back of it is like flat and green, and it absorbs sunlight, and it's got the ability chlorophyll.
Of course.
Yeah, and the names are just nonsense words because I made it up when I was 10. So its name is Nupin, and it evolves Jellin.
Oh man, if I was, I need to dig up some old notebooks and find some Pokemon that I made when I was 10 because there are some gems in there.
Do you remember?
Most of them were robots.
Do you remember your first Fakemon?
I can remember one of my earliest ones, and his name was Armadillotron.
Oh, that's great.
My friend drew it. He really kind of just looked like he was like part of the Cubone family, like in his basic shape. But I think that's because a lot of Gen 1 Pokemon kind of did look like that.
I mean, they all had that same like party sprite where it's just like a monster.
Exactly, like just the kind of generic monster looking thing. It had a lot of spikes on it. And I believe it was supposed to be a metal type because steel did not exist yet.
Dope. Well, you called it.
I definitely, I always thought that there would be a metal type, and, they did it right away.
You must have felt so vindicated. Like, yes!
I did feel very vindicated.
Or you would be like, Game Freak took my sketch pad. They were spying on me this whole time. Through my Game
Me
Boy.
when they introduced Sandstorm, which was a move that I'd thought of. For Electric Rock, other than like another idea that really works for it was the one that's used in Prism, which has an electric rock type, and he's a Fulgurite, which is like when you strike sand with lightning, it turns into like these cool like tubes.
Oh, that's so cool!
And like he based a Pokemon on that. It kind of just looks like an egg, but it's really cool, and I really do like it.
Oh, that's
even though
awesome.
it's one of the hardest Pokemon to get in the entirety of Prism.
Does it have a low catch rate, or is it just really rare?
You have to get it. You have to have a specific item, which you get from completing a bingo card, and that bingo card is gotten by like leveling up a bunch of RPG stats.
Oh,
because the game has RPG stats in it.
Oh,
there's like mining and crafting and stuff.
Is it Minecraft?
Yeah, more or less.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help it.
I'll go with this one because it was one that we were kind of discussing beforehand a little bit. Have y'all seen and discussed this rad type chart? And it's just like, you saw those, right? Like the little types?
Oh, yeah, I retweeted it.
You retweeted it. Okay. So, what makes a good fake type for you? Because you only had the one, right? In uranium.
Yeah, the nuclear type. I think that to really sell a fake type, it has to be an important the game that it's introduced in. Just tossing in a bunch of new types just for the hell of it is it's going to be difficult for players to absorb because they, memorizing the existing type matchup chart is an ordeal. We sort of take it for granted because we've been playing Pokemon forever, but like understanding which types are good against others is not always intuitive, and it's kind of daunting. So
not knowing some resistances has thrown me off before.
Yeah,
like rock doesn't resist bug.
Yeah, and ghost resists bug for some reason, I think.
Ghost resists bug and poison.
I don't resist poison? What? Since when?
Yep.
Are you sure you're not thinking of Ghastly resisting poison because it's part poison type?
Give me 1 second.
So, point
Google
made.
Type chart.
So this Pokemon type chart, I love it, just mostly because it's super aesthetic. You've got blood type, internet type, curse type, hologram type, lab type, swamp, dream, smoke, tundra, vampire, and party type. There's others too.
Party type is the best one.
It's so great.
I really do like these are using the Gen 3 style, and I really do like the way they look.
Yeah, it definitely tweaks my nostalgia gland. That sounds gross.
But yeah, I'm particularly interested in fake types. Like, I made a big old interactive type chart with a bunch of different fake types on it because they fascinate me to that level. So, like, nuclear, for people who have not played uranium yet, you should do it. It's still you can still get it. It's not hard to find.
It's on the internet,
It's on the internet. It's around.
I won't give you a download link, but it's out there. I have no control over it.
Yeah, it's the same stance that Cool Boy Man has with Prism. He's like, it exists.
Yeah.
I'm not working on it. Don't worry. I cannot be sued. But nuclear is super effective against all types.
Yeah.
Except for steel
and
itself.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and that makes it double effective against dual types, right?
Yeah, it's really, really powerful, but it's balanced, quote unquote, balanced by the fact that it's also weak to everything except for nuclear. So they're basically glass cannons. Any single nuclear type will literally nuke anything else on the field, but it'll also die to one hit itself. Which I think maybe I wasn't thinking about the nuances of this when I first invented the concept of a nuclear type, but it definitely does have something to do with like the benefits and drawbacks of nuclear power and how it's really powerful, but also really dangerous. So that was, but it kind of plays in nicely to that. I mean, I wasn't trying to make some kind of deep social comment.
No, it works a very similar way to how the shadow types work in XD, in that the shadow moves are super effective against all non-shadow Pokemon.
Is that true?
They're super effective against all non-shadow Pokemon, and then I think they're either neutral or not very effective against other shadow Pokemon.
I feel like
but it's treated differently than a type. Because like there's no stacking if there's dual types. Mm-hmm. It's just like they're all treated in the game's code as normal types, and then there's like a flag that says if it's a shadow move or not. It wasn't true in Colosseum. It was different in XD.
Okay, yeah, that's where I was tripped up because I only really played through Colosseum, and I played my friend's copy of XD on her GameCube, but I never had my own copy, so my knowledge about that game is sketchy.
I'm replaying it right now because I found out that someone did a ROM hack of it that adds the fairy type and the physical special split, and also new shadow Pokemon.
Whoa.
And also new shadow moves.
That's dope. I didn't even know
Pokemon
you could.
XG, it's cool so far. It also like kind of speeds up the story a bit, gets rid of a lot of mandatory cutscenes.
Yeah, the story was, I mean, Shadow Lugia was cool, but the story of those games, well, the story in Colosseum was all right. Story in XD, I wasn't as compelled by, but then again, it's, I mean,
I still think that Genius Sonority had a lot of personality in the way they animated the Pokemon.
Oh, totally.
And also the way the overworld looks. Like, the overworld looks gorgeous in that game for a GameCube game, like, several years later.
Yeah, Fedak City in particular is just a really beautiful region with all the water fountains and stuff.
Yeah, I really like the Under as a conceptual city, just because, like, it's fully underground, and it's so cool.
The music is great.
Yeah, so, Game Freak, if you need more people to help you with this kind of stuff, Genius Sorority has not released a game in like 3 years. I'm sure they're still around. I did find out like only relatively recently that Creatures Inc. actually were like the main subcontractor that made the models for the 3DS games.
Huh. So they're still working on it.
They are still working on it because as far as I knew, all they'd done is offered like a significant amount of logistics support on like the first set of games.
Huh.
And that was like why they own 33% of the Pokemon company. But no, they do contract work with them as well, which makes sense.
Didn't they also make some of the Earthbound games?
That was HAL that did the early Earthbound games.
Oh, okay. Because
which is where Iwata worked. So I think that HAL was technically a partner on Gold and Silver. Because Iwata's the one that figured out how to code Kanto into it. So that's where that came from.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, you
Rest in peace,
Iwata.
Beautiful man. I'm trying to think of like if there's a reason in the game's development why Mewtwo and Gygus from Earthbound 1 or
look so
Earthbound 0,
goddamn similar.
Yeah, they really do look like, I mean, I guess it's sort of like an alien mutant creature, but it's got to be more than a coincidence because they were both in development at around the same time, and it's both the final boss and has similar powers. So like,
what if it's just Mewtwo?
Maybe I'm wearing a tinfoil hat here.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sans from Undertale's just Ness but dead.
No,
let's get into
not.
it. Game theory, baby.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
Just a little theory.
Oh, Matt Pat played my game. That was wild. There were like 30,000 people watching him.
Oh my god.
He called it the banned Pokemon game Nintendo doesn't want you to see.
Yeah, that sounds about like a Matt Pat headline.
Oh my god. He even name dropped me in the live stream, but he got my name wrong. He called me Uncontrollable Twitch
instead of Involuntary. Oh my god.
I think I made that my display name on Twitter after that for a little while.
That's really good. If only he also gave Pokemon Uranium to the Pope.
I know.
What if the Pope played Uranium?
Okay, so I have this one little question in the back of my mind that I'm not going to ever rest fully until I have an answer to, which is, has Griffin McElroy played Pokemon Uranium?
God,
he was the editor.
See him playing it.
He was an editor of Polygon during the summer when Pokemon Uranium came out, and he loves Pokemon. And Polygon did an article about Pokemon Uranium. They actually did several articles about Pokemon Uranium, so it's not inconceivable.
It is not inconceivable that Griffin McElroy played your game. That is, yeah.
I just want to know.
Griffin, if you're listening, please.
My DMs are open. Yeah. Just yes or no is fine.
Just yes or no is fine. Just let us know, Griffin. If Griffin, just reactivate your Twitter and just tweet the word yes. You don't have to put any context on it, but if you are listening, then just tweet the word yes. Thanks.
We'll know. We'll know.
We'll know it was for us. We are going for a good hour and a half here, so that's probably a good place to call it for today. Where can people find you on the web?
So on Twitter, I am at Voluntary Twitch. That's VOLUNTAR Twitch. And because Involuntary Twitch didn't fit. On DeviantArt, I am Involuntary-Twitch. That's where I put all of my latest Fakemon pixel art and other art. I did a whole bunch of Fakemon last month for the Fakeathon challenge, which I also
such a good
create and run. I co-run the Fakemon blog with Matt on Tumblr, so that's fakemon.tumblr.com. My Tumblr.
So glad I got that URL.
I know, it's really clutch, and it's the #1 Fakemon resource. Maybe, I don't know. I like to think so.
There was a more popular Fakemon blog, but the guy who ran it became like too busy.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic
Fantastic
Fakemon, right?
Fakemon, yeah.
I missed that blog.
It was very good.
Wonder if I could mod that blog too. Just got to consolidate all the brand.
Yeah, exactly. Get it all under the brand, and then get Omnis Region going again.
Yeah, I miss
because I
Omnis
really like
Region.
Omnis Region.
That was so much fun. Such a fun community project. Yeah. Also, check out Poke Engine. Just, last minute plug for Poke Engine. Look at their Halloween event. It's on for another, I think, 12 days or 11 days as of this recording.
Yep.
I don't know when
And the Poke Engine site at pokeengine.org does link the Discord, which is how you get access.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of really cool fake codexes there as well. Fakemon.
And also some cool surprises for anyone excited for Sword and Shield in the Halloween event.
Yeah, it's. I was so delighted to find those.
Oh my god, I screamed. I screamed when it appeared.
It's great.
It's my baby. I love it.
It's perfect. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff going on. Sword and Shield comes out on November 15th. Holy I can't wait. I cannot wait.
It's so close.
My body is
I
ready.
probably won't get another episode of this out before then.
And then after that, you can find me on my Nintendo Switch playing Pokemon Shield.
Perfect. I'll end this episode how we always end it with a thanks Bulbapedia. Here's a line from Cosmo M's Bulbapedia article. With its pre-evolved form weighing in at 0.1 kilogram and Cosmo M at 999.9 kilograms, the evolution from Cosmog to Cosmo M is the largest increase in weight due to evolution, with an increase of 999,799.99%. Thanks, Bulbapedia. And thank you, Twitch, for joining us on Elite Full Restore this week.
Thanks for having me.
I hope everyone enjoys the game, because we'll have plenty to talk about once it's out.